Okay, so we're back. Hey, this is Tomas, and here we are back at my YouTube channel, and I've got a very special guest today, Vitaly, my brother from the Brotherhood Battalion here in Kiev, Ukraine. Hey, Vitaly, how are you?
I'm fine, Thomas. Thank you for having me. How are you?
It's
How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. You know, all things considered, you know what? You look like a badass. You look great.
Thank you, but I don't think that I am. I think I'm not fighting against evil. I think that Russia is pure evil, and I'm just fighting for good forces, for Jesus Christ. I'm not badass. I don't like to shoot people. I don't like to kill people. I don't like to do any harm. I just wanna defend this world, defend this civilization from what Russia is
Got it.
actually represents.
Well, Vitaly, it's good to see you, my brother. We haven't seen each other in some time, so thanks for taking the time to thanks for making the time today for my YouTube channel to share your story with my subscribers, the audience. Really appreciate it. So I wanted to ask you just a couple of questions, several questions, and get your take on things, and please share your story with us. And so the first question I want to ask you is tell us about your background, your family, your life in Ukraine, your personal history. Let's start there.
Okay, I was born in 1981 in Kryvyi Rih, Ukraine. It's central part of Ukraine. My father was from western region. My mother was from eastern region. So I know both cultures, and I think that I know Ukraine from both sides. Um, I studied in school, of course, and I tried to be a lawyer, but as a twist of fate, I became a construction worker and made some little career, some advancement in that, some professional got some professional skills. But in 2014, I got that call to fight for my country. I could just sit still, and some invisible force just made me to do that what I did, to join
So
volunteer battalion and fight for Ukraine because it was impossible to do something. So I like to work. I'm living a normal life. I've been in relationships with a woman for 7 years, and I'm a normal person. I don't like to shoot. I don't like to kill. I want to live a normal life, but some guy in Kremlin decided to turn everything around.
hmm. So now I understand. So did you train? You went to school to be a lawyer, is that right?
Yes, I have a degree,
You have
or I don't know the equivalent in English.
a JD, a
Uh, I studied for 4 years,
it-
and I know Ukrainian laws, and Ukrainian laws, it's a little bit a complicated story. So it's not like American education. It's a little bit different. So I think it's not even like a college. So it's incomparable to America. We
well,
all have.
if it's a 4 year degree, it may be a JD degree, juris, which is
No,
the
it's a little
American
bit
equivalent.
different. It's maybe it's like a baccalaureate, like a bachelor.
Exactly.
But it's inapplicable in my town because my town is 120 miles long, and it's very industrial. It comes down to industrial enterprises,
Yeah.
and it's impossible to work as a lawyer or as a translator or someone else. You need to work hard
Yeah.
in order to survive,
Or
and it's not a very open for foreigners, because it doesn't represent any interest.
or
People are working. It's a very working town,
right.
and
Or you need to
it's in my veins. I love my town so much, and I'm missing my town. I have some nostalgia. I want to come back to my Kryvyi Rih. I want to be there again.
I bet you are. I bet you are. I know where that is. So this is, but you can. So you came to Kiev though, and so it's no wonder you have what we call the gift of gab. It's an expression in the United States. You're very articulate. Your English is impeccable, Vitali. And this is why, by the way, my audience, they paired me with Vitali when I went and signed up for a civilian battalion. So now let me thank you for that introduction, and thank you for introducing the viewers to who you are, a little bit about your background. Obviously, Vitaly is he's an educated, very intelligent Ukrainian man, strong man, a real man, as we would say here in Ukraine, a real man.
Is it allowed to be a man these days?
This is my opinion, anyway. So,
if it's allowed to be, then yes, I'm proud to be a man. But I think that there are so many courageous women, and one of them saved my life.
Of course.
And I think we will get to that.
Yeah,
because I admire some women who join military forces.
We'll
get to that.
Strong. We'll get to that part of this.
It's not about my gender.
We'll get to that part of this. We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
What is inside our mind?
We'll get to that part of the story in just a moment. But so you're a civilian. So you joined the fight in 2014 as a civilian, not a military man, correct? So tell us. The next question I want to ask you, as I lead into the question with that, saying that, is tell us why you fought in 2014. What is this complex and very sordid history of Russia and Ukraine?
I can tell you very briefly and very shortly about our history. If you saw that massacre in Bucha, you can understand. Try to multiply it by billion, and you will understand the entire history of Ukraine. History of Ukraine is Bucha multiplied by billion.
Okay.
They do Bucha to us all the time. They massacre us. They kill us. They don't leave us any chance to live a normal life. We are not even slaves to them. We are free people, and they envy us. They can't bear our freedom. They can't stand it. They want to destroy us because we are free and they are not.
So what made you? What is that? What made you join in 2014 and fight in Donbass?
Yes. I wanted to tell you that story. It's hard to tell. I can't imagine what would I do otherwise. To be honest with you, I can't imagine myself sitting home and doing nothing. Sometimes I just I was walking in the streets and people were watching me. And I could read in their eyes, you are a young man, physically capable to fight. What are you doing home? That's what was the question in their eyes. And I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't sit in my house and do nothing. My friends asked me if it was a very hard decision to make. No, it wasn't. It was very easy. I was glad, I was happy to join volunteer battalion. And if you asked me what was the happiest day in my life, don't get me wrong, I'm not a perverted person, I'm a normal person. But the happiest day in my life was when my country gave me weapon and I fought. My baptism of war, my first fight, it was in Ilovaisk. If you remember that tragedy, we fought in Ilovaisk and it was a very heavy fighting.
Yeah.
But I was on the moon. I felt I belonged in that, it was mine.
I think a lot of Ukrainian.
I don't know. I felt so useful, not because I'm an idiot, not because I'm a cruel person, no, but because I felt my country needed me. Not only my country, the entire civilization, because I know Putin will never stop on Ukraine. He will go further. So we need to stop him, and it's our destiny.
And so did you? So you felt. So you felt this in 2014, just as much as now.
It was a very easy decision. It wasn't a very hard decision to make. I just wanted it with my entire soul. It was mine, and I never regretted it. And maybe because I was so eager to fight, God just saved me. I got no injuries, and all those scars, you can see it right now. I'm in a hospital. All those scars I received just months ago, and if you saw that car, what happened to that car? Two anti-tank bombs. Uh, you would say you would understand that God exists.
Yeah.
Without God, it was impossible to survive. Believe me. So I believe in God, and I believe that He wants me to do something. I have some mission. I have to do something good, and I have to fight evil. And He gave me some experience, and He gave me some strength and some ability to fight again. And believe me, once I get recovered, everything will be as it was before. I will be fighting again against evil. Not even for my country, even for your country. I don't care. I will fight evil because I know that our civilization is under threat, and it's our mission to stop that.
There's a very clear, there's never been a clear delineation between good and evil as now, um, since World War II, I think, and even more so. I keep, thank you for that background. And yeah, we got to get some photos of the of the Jeep and the explosion. If anybody on the American, the soldiers who came and were side by side with you have those photos. But I gotta tell you something I've heard, and this kind of this leads into the next question. You know, I just came back from near the front line personally, and it was near Zaporizhia and the border between Russian occupied and Ukrainian occupied. And I kept hearing stories about this. Is interesting because it's interesting hearing this firsthand from Ukrainians that the Germans showed more integrity. The Germans showed more honor and dignity than what the Russians are now doing in the year 2022. And what I mean by that is the Nazi occupiers in 1941 to 1945. I mean, I've heard stories like, oh, they were kind to us. Yes, they occupied us. Yes, they were doing horrific things to Jewish Ukrainians, but they didn't randomly murder people on the streets or torture and do the things that Russians are doing constantly to anybody, no matter what their ethnic background or religious beliefs. I hear stories about Germans, and I'm not trying to make this into pro-German, but it's just interesting to compare the two in the year 2022 versus the Nazi occupation 1941 to 1945. And I'm hearing stories about how they were bringing eggs and bringing food to Ukrainians who were sheltered in their homes and teaching them how to make spinach omelets. And you don't hear stories like this about Russian occupiers now. And so, having said that, and again, this is not about Germany versus Russian occupiers, but I just wanted to share that personal story before I ask you the next question, because there's such a complex history here in Ukraine. And I'm learning a lot as an American living here in this country and developing Ukrainian blood.
Ukrainian.
I'm Ukrainian in my heart. I am, brother. And so, what were you doing this year in 2022 here in Kiev? What did you do when you and I met? What happened in March of 2022, a month or so ago, month and a half ago, during the mission you were on with a couple of American fighters? Can you describe the events, what happened, the explosions, and what is it like now between Americans and Ukrainians fighting side by side to repel this evil occupying force?
Can you hear me? Okay, Thomas, I want to start with what you said about Germans.
Okay, sure.
I think it's incomparable because Germans were a great civilization, no matter how bad Hitler was. They represented a nation of philosophers, and they were very good civilized people. Russians, I'm not a racist, but they have no culture. They have no civilization. They are slaves deep inside their souls. At least those Russians who came here. Normal Russians, they run away from Russia and they can't live in that cage, I don't know, in that prison cell.
Sorry to interrupt you, Vital. We have a lot of immigrants from Russia in California, a lot, and none of them I know of support this war. None of them, and they ran away to get out of communist oppression in Russia.
It's not their fault they were born in Russia, but if you never try to escape that you are a slave, if you can go with it, if you can live with it, I don't respect you. And I have an aunt. I'm sorry that I'm dwelling on that story, but it's very important to me to explain. I have an aunt. She is 90 years old, and she remembers Germans very well.
Yeah.
And she knows Russians very well, communists and other guys. You know, Germans were very cruel to Jewish people. They were very cruel to Jewish people, and they had some perverted ideology imposed on them by Hitler and Himmler, especially Himmler, I think. SS ideology.
Yeah.
He was the mastermind of
propaganda.
Millions of Jewish people, innocent people, absolutely. But never forget, Germans themselves were a great nation. And you can see what Russians did in Berlin. There was the second or first, I can mistake, sorry if I confuse the numbers, but it was called Ukrainian Front. There were no ethnic Ukrainians. It consisted of ethnic Russians and other nationalities. They came to Berlin in 1945, and over the course of 2 weeks, they raped more than 100,000 women. That's who Russians are, indeed. That's who they are. It shows their true colors. They are barbarians. Those who fight, they are barbarians. And German people, I respect them very much because I think that I belong to the same civilization with them. I think we have something in common, some values, Christian values. I think we belong to the same civilization. And speaking of 2022, I woke up, I don't remember the day when Putin started that war. I woke up, it was a very good sleep, I don't know, I felt very calm and easy, it was a very good morning. And then I read the news that war started, and I heard 5 explosions in my native town, Kryvyi Rih. It's central Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I was a little bit confused, but given into consideration that I had a prior experience, and I knew what to do, and I knew what Russia was, I was surprised, overly surprised, and I had my uniform ready, I had my tools, I had everything at the ready, and I went to Kiev because I knew those guys, I knew Brotherhood, it's our battalion. I knew those guys, I had fought with them in 2014. They are very courageous, but their military skills are nothing compared to their religiousness. I like them because they believe in Jesus Christ, they never use bad language, they don't smoke, they don't drink, and there is some discipline. I like those people, they are very intellectually developed, and I like to be a part of that battalion as long as they are willing to fight, because maybe they will have some change of hearts, I don't know, but now they want to fight and I support them. And we met, I remember the day, it was a very boring day, we did nothing, and then came one guy who spoke English, and I tried to speak to you because it was boring and I wanted to entertain myself and I wanted to practice some English. And that's how we met. You came to us and you know, you were a very big surprise to me because there were so many Ukrainians just fleeing their native land, and you are American, just outside your comfort zone, came here to fight, to help us, to save our lives. And you know, it deserves some admiration. Not that I wanted to flatter you, but it's true. It's true.
I was out of my comfort zone, that's for sure.
Yeah. And you came to us, and I wanted to support it because you know I know what it is, and I think that it's not just a Ukrainian war. No,
No.
because it's a clash of civilizations, and I think that the fact that some foreigners join Ukrainian military force
Hmm.
is a very good sign. But I think we should find better place to them because there are so many good specialists, especially those Americans who saved my life. They are very good fighters. They know everything. They are very good medics. They are very good fighters. I think they should teach, not engage in fighting. There is no point to engage. It's not an infantry war. It's war of artillery, sorry,
Yeah.
tanks,
Yeah.
drones,
Yeah.
but not manpower. No, it's not a war of manpower.
Only secondarily.
So
Yeah.
I think you should teach us, and you have something to teach us because Ukrainians themselves, they're very brave, they're courageous, but they have no skills. And you need to give us skills and give us weapons, and we will be fighting. We are not like Iraqi army forces. Do you remember that story when Iraqis just fled their positions and just gave all weapons to ISIS? It happened once, and
Yeah.
it was just I don't know, not even failure. It was something worse than failure for America to support such guys. But we are different. We will never flee. We will fight to the end, with your weapons or without, and we will be dying even fighting with our kitchen knives. So Ukrainians are different, and we deserve support. The better we fight, the more weapons we get. I'm 100% sure about that. And now it's time. It's time to give us a heavy weapon, because you know there is a breaking point. There have been a breaking point. We start to win this war. This war. We are on the winning side. Maybe West can see it. Maybe West can't believe it. But Ukrainians are winning this war. It's true.
It is true. It is true. And I'm
sorry. There is a psychological breakdown. They are afraid of us.
So
you know, all their tactics comes down to just occupying those areas where there is no Ukrainian military at all.
Well,
you know, they avoid close fight. They lose 8 times of 10.
What I've
of 10 they lose because they are cowards.
So Vitaly,
and they are not capable of what we are capable. So I think we are better warriors. Just give us weapon and we will see what happens.
I couldn't agree more. I completely agree. And the U.S. has already given several billion in aid, and more is coming on the way, which is great. And other countries are stepping up too. I think that you know, it's true. The Ukrainians will never give up. They'll never give up. In my humble experience, I found Ukrainians to be actually may not have all the skills, but they're very intelligent and are fast learners. So you give them the right tools and brave and intellectually smart about battling this war, not just through brute force like the orcs, as we call them here, the Russians. So tell us, we've got a limited amount of time, so let me ask you the next question, okay? So tell us about, tell the viewers about that day that day you were out with Rob and Alexis, and what happened? You know, what was your experience? Tell us about your experience.
Okay, there were two occupied villages, occupied by Russians, and those villages was not occupied by Russians, but uncontrolled by our forces. So we needed some reconnaissance mission, or maybe something like that. They didn't tell me all the details, but we needed to set up some checkpoint maybe, or maybe some ambush without any engagement in fighting. We needed to see, we had to see their movement of their tanks, of their
Mm-hmm.
techniques.
Mm-hmm.
Then, if we see there are some tanks, we should inform our superiors, take some heavy weapon, and just destroy their their tanks and their machines. That's what we were supposed to do. We drove our car deep inside uncontrolled territory. The territory was uncontrolled by anyone.
Yeah.
It was very scary. Those guys in the back seat, three of them, Rob, Alexis, and Taylor. His nickname is Red. They turned out to be Americans, and I was able to talk to them in English. And they were volunteers, and as it turned out to be later, the best medics possible. You know, we talked about America, we talked about Yellowstone, about Niagara Falls, and about my dream one day to visit that beautiful country, etc. And then I remember there was some road and some traces of tanks, the trails of tanks. Definitely tanks had been there. I don't know what was the purpose, but there were tanks, definitely. And then I don't remember anything because I had some severe concussion. I lost my consciousness, and I don't remember anything. I just saw that car, the footage of that car, and I was shocked. Those guys, Alexis, that beautiful woman who joined Ukrainian military forces, that's speaking about men and women, you know, as we started.
Yeah.
She is a woman, but she is a very strong woman. Everyone thought that I was dead, but she checked my pulse, and they were able to pull me out of that car before the second anti-tank bomb went off. And they just literally saved my life.
Mm.
And now I can't say that they are just acquaintances or maybe friends. They are just part of my soul. You know, when I lost my father, I realized that he wasn't just my father. He was part of my mind. He was part of my soul, my psychology. The same thing with them. I'm worried about them. I want them to survive. I want them to be safe. Because now they are part of my psychology. They are my family now. And I can't say that they are just people. No, they are not just people. They are people who saved my life and did impossible. I don't know how they managed to get me to some hospital because it was far away from civilization. It was a rural area, and I don't know how they managed to do that. But their professional is unique because I was bleeding and I lost so much blood, and they put two tourniquet on my legs. They used their medical kit, my medical kit. It was something unbelievable, and to say that I am grateful, I think I'm lost for words what to say about them. So I don't want to flatter, I just love those guys and their professionalism. They are in Ukraine again, they are fighting, and I want them to teach, you know, because they know about war more than an average Ukrainian fighter knows. I want them to teach us. and maybe to supervise us. I don't want them to fight as a soldier, you know, especially Alexis. She is a woman and she is a gifted medic, you know, a really gifted. She has a very good, I don't know, a very good history. She saved my life.
Yeah.
And I'm not a small guy. They were able to pull me out. It's not an easy thing to do, believe me. And I was in that body armor. I I'm a heavyweight, so it's very hard to do. And they managed. I don't know what was the level of their professionalism. I admire it. And those guys, especially Rob, I know for sure he fought in Syria and in Afghanistan. And now I can see how professional American military is. I want them to be with us in this war because they, they are fighting for their own values here. I don't believe that American military fought for their values in Afghanistan or in Iraq, but Ukraine is a different story. We are like you. We are not different. We belong to the same civilization. We are not Iraqis. We are not Afghanis. We are people like you. The same culture, the same civilization, and I think it makes a lot of sense to support us and to fight together. And by the way, if you want us to fight for you, I don't think it is going to be a problem. We will be fighting for you, so we can be good friends. Believe me, we know how to be grateful.
Well, there's thank you for sharing that story, Vitaly. Again, there's never been a clear delineation, such a clear delineation between good and evil. And you know what? I'm glad you survived. I'm glad they pulled you to safety. It was obviously you have the scars. You have the scars that go along with the story.
I don't have surgeries.
And you look great.
So I'm correct. I have scars just temporarily.
Yeah.
It will be removed. I will be better. I will be prettier, so to speak.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm like a Frankenstein, but in the future I will be better.
Oh, you look great to me, brother, and I really appreciate you taking the time to tell your story. So, let me ask you just one final question, then we got to wrap up. But what's the message you want to convey to Americans and Ukrainians working together to stomp out this evil?
Well, first and foremost, I want to tell Americans, never, never, ever take your freedom and liberty for granted. It can be easily lost. First and foremost, never forget that you have to fight for your values and you have to fight for your country that I consider the best civilization ever. And I think that God gave you strength and gave you such a power because God wants you to lead the charge against evil. That's what I want to tell Americans. Many Americans hate their country.
Good point.
Never do that. Your country is perfect. Yes, maybe some social unfairness, maybe someone is poor, someone is rich, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter when people are dying, believe me. And Ukrainians working together with Americans, I think we shouldn't stop and we shouldn't talk to Russia because negotiation is the worst possible scenario. As I mentioned before, we just start to win this war. We can win it, believe me. Many people can't believe that it's a possibility. It is. We can win. We can drive them out. We can demilitarize them. And of course, there is some threat of nuclear strike, but I think there are some methods to prevent it, to preempt all those events. I think we can do something about it. So let's just help together and stand to the very end. And don't be afraid of death. I used to be afraid of death, but I survived that death. You know, healthcare unit, but if I didn't, it would be much the same, you know. It would be like that. So it's not scary, it's not frightening. Don't worry about that. What really scares me is to be a slave, is to be just a slave to some uncivilized people. I don't want to be a slave, and I want to respect myself. So I want to have meaningful life. So be afraid to lose that meaning in your life. Be afraid to lose your freedom, but never be afraid to die. Death is nothing, believe me. I know this. And scars is nothing, believe me. They will be removed. And my leg, my foot, I lost my foot. No problem, I will get the best prosthetic. No problem, I will survive. There are so many people who support me, and I want to thank them all. Guys, don't be afraid. Just fight to the end. That is my message. That's what I want to tell them. Don't negotiate with those bastards. There is no one to shake his hand. And they don't deserve our negotiation. They need to be destroyed totally. Never stop. Just go forward, and we will come up victorious. You will see, because we are fighting in the name of Jesus Christ, and I hope the evil will be punished.
And Ukraine is a metaphor for democracy and freedom for the whole world. This is a fight for the world freedom.
We can't live otherwise. It's our nature. It's in our veins.
Well, it's
Ukrainian,
clear. It's clear.
Ukrainian.
You know, one of the reasons why I moved to Ukraine, and thank you for it's because Ukraine reminds me a lot of. It reminds me of a lot of the United States in the desire for progress, for economic development, for freedom of speech, the Bill of Rights, to be able to live and prosper life in a free, fair, just society.
Thomas, to be honest with you, from what I see, I watch a lot of American television, and we are the same. To be honest with you, we have the same mentality. A little bit different, a little bit different shape, but the same substance, I would say.
Clearly.